My name is Sofia Chen. I'm 29 years old, and the day my mother called me useless in front of her entire book club, I was standing in her kitchen holding a $400 grocery bill I'd just paid for her Thanksgiving dinner, a dinner I wasn't even invited to eat at. She didn't know I heard her, or maybe she didn't care. Her voice drifted through the dining room as I quietly unpacked organic turkey and imported wine onto her granite countertops. Sophia? Oh, she's fine. Works some little tech thing. Nothing like her brother, of course. He's the real success story. She's just, well, useless at anything that matters. Her friends laughed. Not cruel laughter, just the polite kind that says, we're agreeing because it's easier. I set down the last bag, walked out the side door, got in my car, and sat there for 10 minutes staring at the steering wheel. My phone buzzed, a Slack notification from my company, the company I'd co-founded 3 years ago, the company that had just closed a Series B funding round worth $47 million. The company my mother had no idea existed, because every time I tried to tell her about my work, she'd smile and say, "That's nice, honey," before asking if I'd met any nice lawyers like my brother did. That night, I made a decision. Not out of anger, though I was angry, not out of revenge, though what came next would feel like it. I decided something simple and terrifying. I was done being invisible to people who only saw me when they needed something. If you've ever been the forgotten child, the one who pays but never gets a seat at the table, stay with me, because what happened next didn't just change my bank account, it changed my entire life. Growing up, I was always Sofia, Derek's little sister. Derek was the golden child before the term went viral on TikTok. Straight A's, varsity football, Harvard law, married to a surgeon, 2 perfect kids who played violin. My parents had a literal shrine to him in the living room. Framed degrees, wedding photos, newspaper clippings about his big cases. My college diploma? In a drawer somewhere. Maybe. I wasn't a bad kid. I graduated with a 3.8 GPA in computer science from UC Berkeley. I got a job at a decent startup in San Francisco, making $85K right out of college. I taught myself to code when I was 14 because I was bored, and my parents were too busy at Derek's games to notice I existed. But none of that mattered because I wasn't a lawyer. I wasn't married to someone impressive. I was just Sophia, doing some tech thing. The exploitation started small. Can you pick up groceries for Thanksgiving? Can you cover the plumber? Your brother's busy with a big case. Can you send $500 for the HOA fee? We're a little short this month. Every request came with the same footnote. You're single, you don't have kids, you can afford it. As if my money was less real because I wasn't funding a mortgage and private school. By the time I was 26, I'd quietly paid for thousands of dollars in small favors that were never paid back. I told myself it was family. That's what you do. Then I co-founded Neurosynth with my best friend from college, Marcus. We built AI-powered data analytics tools for healthcare companies. It was boring to explain dinner parties, which is probably why my mother never asked twice, but it was revolutionary in our industry, and it was profitable. Within 2 years, we had 12 employees and contracts with 4 major hospital networks. Within 3 years, we closed Series B funding. I personally walked away with equity worth $8.3 million on paper and a salary that had quietly climbed to $240K. I bought a small but beautiful condo in Pacific Heights. I hired a financial advisor. I started sleeping through the night for the first time in years. And my family had no idea, because every time I tried to share good news, I was interrupted. "That's great, honey. Hey, can you help your brother with his down payment? You know how expensive houses are in his area." Or, "Sophia, your dad needs a new car. Can you chip in? You don't have a family to support like Derek does." The final straw wasn't the money. It was Thanksgiving, 3 weeks after I overheard my mother call me useless. She called and asked if I could contribute to the holiday meal since I'd be attending. I asked what she meant. She said, "Well, you're coming, right? So it's only fair you help pay. It's expensive feeding everyone." I paused. Then I asked, "Am I invited or am I being invoiced?" She laughed like I'd made a joke. "Don't be dramatic, Sofia. Just Venmo me $400. I sent the money. Then I asked what time dinner was. She said 4 p.m. I showed up at 4:35 p.m. with the groceries she'd texted me to pick up on the way. When I walked in, the table was set for 8. There were only 7 chairs. My mother saw me staring and said, "Oh, Derek's family's here, and Greg's parents. We didn't think you'd actually come. You're always so busy with work." I stood there holding a bag of $90 organic Brussels sprouts, looking at a table with no place for me, in a meal I'd just funded. My brother saw me and waved. "Hey, Sof, thanks for grabbing the food. You're a lifesaver. You sticking around or heading out?" I smiled. I set the bags down and I left without saying a word. That night, I didn't cry. I made a list. I opened my banking app and pulled up 3 years of transaction history. Groceries for family dinners I wasn't invited to. Flights I'd booked for my parents' anniversary trip that I wasn't asked to join. A $5,000 loan to help Derek with a down payment that was never mentioned again. $1,200 for car repairs. $800 for my nephew's birthday party. Another $600 for my mother's book club weekend getaway. It added up to $34,719 over 3 years. Enough for a luxury car. Enough for a year of rent. Enough to mean something. I wasn't even the highest earner in my family anymore, but I was the only one they asked because Derek had responsibilities and I was just Sofia, single and useless with nothing better to do than fund their lives. I took a screenshot of every transaction. I created a spreadsheet, and then I did something that felt small but sounded like thunder in my chest. I turned off every automatic payment I'd set up for them. Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, the family cell phone plan I'd been covering for 4 years, all under my account. Done. I removed my card from my mother's Amazon account. I blocked their access to my Costco membership. I didn't announce it. I just quietly stopped being their ATM. Then I drafted an email. Subject line, "Moving forward." Body, "Hi, Mom and Dad. I've decided to focus my financial resources on my own future. I won't be able to contribute to family expenses moving forward. I'm sure you understand. Love, Sofia." I stared at it for an hour. Then I hit send and turned off my phone. The next morning, I woke up to 19 missed calls and 43 text messages. My mother's voicemails went from confused to angry to crying. "Sofia, what is this about? Did we do something wrong? Why are you being so cruel?" My dad's texts were blunt. "This is childish. We're your parents. You don't just cut off your family." Derek sent one message. "Mom's upset. Whatever this is, fix it." I didn't respond. Instead, I did something I'd been putting off for months. I hired a publicist. Not for revenge, for visibility. Neurosynth was about to announce a major partnership with a national healthcare network, and I wanted my name attached to it, not as Derek Chen's sister, as Sofia Chen, co-founder and CTO. The press release went out 2 weeks later. My face was in TechCrunch, Forbes, and the San Francisco Business Times. 29-year-old co-founder secures $50 million healthcare AI deal. My phone exploded. Friends I hadn't heard from in years, old professors, investors, recruiters. And then, 3 days after the articles dropped, my mother called. I almost didn't answer, but something in me wanted to hear what she'd say now that she knew. I picked up. Her voice was shaky, too sweet, unfamiliar. "Sofia, honey, I saw the articles. Why didn't you tell us? We had no idea you were doing so well. We're so proud of you." I let the silence sit between us like a wall. Then I said, "You called me useless 3 weeks ago. At Thanksgiving, I was holding the groceries I'd paid for a dinner I wasn't invited to sit at." She gasped. "You heard that? Sophia, I didn't mean—" I interrupted her. "Yes, you did. You meant it. And now you're proud because Forbes said I'm worth paying attention to." She started crying. Real tears this time. "We made a mistake. We didn't realize how hard you were working. Please, let's have dinner. Let's talk. Your dad and I want to make this right." I asked her a question I'd been holding for years. "When's my birthday, Mom?" Silence. Long, terrible silence. Then quietly, "April something." "March 12th, I said. "It was last month. You didn't call." She tried to backtrack. She said she'd been busy. She said dates were hard for her. She said it didn't mean she didn't love me. I told her love without effort is just a word. Then I told her I had a meeting and hung up. That night, my brother called. His tone was different, not angry, careful. "Soph, I saw the articles. That's incredible. I had no idea your company was that big. Mom and Dad feel terrible about how they've treated you." I almost laughed. They feel terrible now that strangers think I'm impressive. Where was that energy when I was paying for dinners I couldn't eat at? He sighed. "You're right. We took you for granted. I took you for granted. I'm sorry." It was the first real apology I'd ever gotten from him. I didn't know what to do with it, so I said, "Thank you," and meant it. But I also said, "I need space." He respected that. My parents didn't. Over the next month, they tried everything. Flowers delivered to my office with cards that said, "We love you." Invitations to dinners they swore I'd have a seat at this time. My mother even showed up at my condo unannounced, crying in the hallway, begging me to forgive her. I let her in, I made tea, and I told her the truth. "You don't miss me. You miss what I did for you. There's a difference." She cried harder. "That's not true. You're our daughter." I pulled out my phone and showed her the spreadsheet. 3 years, $34,719. Every grocery run, every bill, every favor. Her face went pale. I didn't realize it was that much. I said, "You didn't ask. You just assumed my money was less important because my life was less important." She reached for my hand. I pulled it back. "I'm not cutting you off forever," I said, "but I'm not your backup plan anymore. If you want a relationship with me, it starts with seeing me, not my bank account, me." She left quietly. I didn't hear from her for 2 weeks. Then, on a random Tuesday, she sent me a text. Just one line. "Your birthday is March 12th. I'm sorry I forgot. I won't forget again." It wasn't enough, but it was a start. My dad took longer. He didn't apologize. He didn't grovel. He just started showing up. He asked if he could take me to lunch. No agenda, no favor to ask, just lunch. We talked about my company. He asked questions, real questions. He listened. It was awkward and unfamiliar, but it was real. Derek sent me a card on my birthday. Inside, he wrote, "I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago." He didn't ask for anything. He didn't make excuses. He just acknowledged that he'd been blind. I appreciated that, but I also knew that respect earned through success is fragile. I didn't want to be loved because I was rich. I wanted to be loved because I was me, and I wasn't sure they knew the difference yet. 6 months after the TechCrunch article, my company was acquired by a major tech conglomerate for $290 million. My personal payout after taxes and investor distributions was $18.4 million. I was 30 years old. I was a millionaire, and the first thing I did wasn't buy a car or a house or take a vacation. I hired a therapist. Because money doesn't fix the part of you that spent years begging to be seen. My parents found out about the acquisition through the news. Again. My mother called, and this time I answered on the first ring. She said, "Sophia, we saw the news. We're so incredibly proud of you." I said, "Thank you." She paused. Then she said, "We'd love to take you to dinner, to celebrate, just the family." I asked, "Will there be a chair for me this time?" She started crying, not manipulative crying, the kind that comes from shame. "Yes," she whispered, "there will always be a chair for you." I believed her, not because she'd changed overnight, but because I had. I wasn't the girl begging for crumbs anymore. I was the woman who built the table, and I got to decide who sat at it. We had dinner the following week. My parents, Derek, his wife, and me. The conversation was stiff at first. My mother kept apologizing. My father kept saying he wished he'd paid more attention. Derek admitted he'd been a terrible brother. And I listened, not because I needed their validation anymore, but because I wanted to see if they meant it. At the end of the night, my mother handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $34,719, the exact amount from my spreadsheet. "We can't give you back the years we wasted, but we can start here." I stared at the check. Part of me wanted to rip it up and tell her money wasn't the point, but another part of me knew that for her, this was the language she understood. Accountability in dollars. I folded it and put it in my purse. I said, "Thank you." Then I added, "I'm not cashing this. I'm framing it, because I don't need your money. I need you to remember what it felt like to finally pay me back." That was 2 years ago. Today, I'm 32. I run a venture capital firm that invests in underrepresented founders. I bought a house in Marin with a view of the bay. I adopted a dog named Bite. I travel 4 times a year, always solo, always to places that make me feel small in the best way. My relationship with my family is complicated. We have dinners once a month. My mother remembers my birthday now. My father asks about my work and actually listens. Derek and I are friends, real friends, in a way we never were as kids. But here's the truth nobody tells you about cutting off toxic family members, even temporarily. It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like grief. Because you're not mourning the family you had, you're mourning the family you deserved and never got. And even when they try to change, even when they show up, there's a part of you that's still standing in that kitchen holding groceries for a dinner you're not invited to. That part doesn't go away. You just learn to hold it gently. If you're reading this and you're the useless one in your family, the one who pays but doesn't matter, the one who's invisible until you're inconvenient, I want you to know something. Your worth is not determined by their blindness. You don't owe anyone access to your success just because they share your blood. And the most radical thing you can do isn't revenge, it's boundaries. It's saying, "I deserve better," and meaning it. It's walking away from tables that don't have a seat for you and building your own. My mother called me useless. Then she begged when I became a millionaire. And you know what I learned? Her opinion of me was never about me. It was about her. It was about what she valued, what she could brag about, what made her look good. And the day I stopped trying to earn her approval was the day I started building a life I didn't need anyone's permission to live. I'm not telling you to cut off your family. I'm not telling you to forgive them either. I'm telling you that you get to decide what you're worth. And once you do, no one else's math matters. Not your mother's, not your father's, not the sibling who got all the attention, just yours. And that, more than any bank account, more than any press release, more than any revenge plot, is the moment you stop being useless in someone else's story and start being the main character in your own. Build your table, choose your chairs, and when people who forgot you suddenly remember, you get to decide if there's room. That's not cruelty, that's power, and it's yours.